Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. Today I have an incredible guest, a master herbalist, and her name is Rupam Henry, and I'm so very pleased to have her in the studio. We're going to be talking about health is your wealth and so much more. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the studio today and speaking with me about all of your great, incredible work that you do, and we have a lot to go over, so welcome.
It's great to be here. Yeah.
So let's start from the very beginning. You come from an incredible family, a long line of people that are very interested in and been practicing herbology.
Right. I mean, nowadays you call them pharmacists, but when I grew up mostly in my grandfather's pharmacy, and at that point in Germany, come from Germany, every pharmacy had a kitchen in the middle of it. And basically everything was done by hand and with herbs. And then both my parents are pharmacists, and when they basically started to practice, it was all pretty much pick up the phone and order from the industry. So kind of in my early childhood was the transition from using mostly herbs to using allopathic medicine. So I remember even as a child that I was very interested in plants and gardening and the medicinal qualities of herbs. But then when I watched my parents, it was like of no interest to me. And I remember that clearly, even though as a child. And, that was where I came from. And I went, when I was 16, I left for India. And I lived in a spiritual community for 5 years. And then when I came back, I only came back for about a year to Germany, and then I quote-unquote followed my spiritual community to America. And when I came to America, it was like I wasn't quite sure where in the world I wanted to be. And I was interested in health. That was clearly my path. And I crossed paths with dentistry. So that was my beginning of my career of 20 years in dentistry as an R.D.A. and a hygienist, both general and pediatric dentistry. And while I did my licenses and my exams and everything, I realized there are big pieces missing of what we tell people, how we educate people. So lo and behold, I went back to school. While I was doing dentistry, became a holistic health educator. And then it came to me that I wanted to go back to my family tradition of making medicine and educating people. So about 8 years ago, I ended up doing my business full-time, where I basically merge being an herbalist and medicine maker with holistic health and dental counseling, plus my products. I have now 25 formulas on the market, and they're all related or geared towards supporting people coming back to balance, and helping themselves, because truly, we all can only help somebody to heal. So I am in this way, I'm a form of support to people, especially when it comes to dentistry, or, when you go and look at dentistry and teeth, it all goes back to health. So basically holistic dental, holistic health are now very merged in my business.
So let's speak about the holistic versus the conventional.
Right.
When you say that you are practicing herbology, and the conventional is the pharmaceutical.
Right, at
so
this point.
The pharmaceutical is giving medicine for the symptoms.
Exactly.
Where herbs is more geared towards looking at the causes, the imbalances. And it's been around for 5,000 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where the medicine has been around for, the best we could talk, is 200 years.
Right.
They've been practicing conventional medicine.
Right.
So in this 5,000 years old, from India, Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine for 5,000 years, what are the key differences besides one looking at the symptoms and one looking at the causes?
Right. I would say there is a total place for allopathic, I mean, I'm very glad if I have a car accident that I will get treated for everything full on allopathic, When it comes to chronic stuff, it's very questionable. because in a chronic situation to just cut symptoms but not looking deeper of what actually gets you there, of why you are sick, then it becomes problematic. And I feel like that's why, in general, there's a lot of interest to come back to something that is more supportive versus cutting effects. I mean, it seems like there's a big interest in the population now, to looking more of what causes these things versus just cutting the effects out and feel it, And so for me, when I hear people coming to me, they are getting pain medication and they're getting this and they're getting that, it just makes you not feel it, but things get worse. So in this way, I feel like there is a re-emergence of using nutrition, using whole foods, using herbs, looking at a causal level and addressing it there versus just cutting effects or symptoms.
Absolutely. Example would be of the two chronic conditions that are very prevalent in today's society would be reflux acid and stomach, digestive problems.
Sure.
So from conventional medicine, they're going to look at and treat the symptoms, where in herbology, they're going to say, well, why is this happening?
Exactly.
They're going to go back, where is the cause? What is causing the reflux acid? Why is it there?
Exactly.
And which herbs would be best for that?
Bitters. I mean, we are such a sweet society. We do everything sweet, and almost nobody does anything bitter. And when it comes to bitter, like there's so many formulas. Chinese have tons of bitter formulas. Ayurveda has tons of bitter formulas. I come from Europe. I was raised with Swedish bitters. It should have been European bitters. But a Swedish doctor in turn of the century basically refound and repopularized the Swedish bitter formula. And so that's the oldest bitter formula.
And your liver absolutely loves
absolutely,
the bitters.
Absolutely. What I call the bitter organs. Anybody that's ever thrown up knows it's bitter. So the entire digestive system, including the spleen, including the gallbladder, including the pancreas, thrive on bitter things. So if you take a bitter, usually you feel it in your digestive system right away. Your normal indigestion will be helped right away. When it comes to supporting liver, you'll have to take it a little bit. Liver is a deep organ. It takes almost 3 weeks to even get to the liver.
And most people know about the one bitter, which would be dandelions, which often in cuisine they will saute dandelions and maybe put one dandelion there just for show on the plate.
That's
but really not for nutritional value.
Exactly.
So a dandelion salad would be absolutely amazing. And what else is in the Swedish bitters?
And most people will have a very hard time with that.
Yes.
Because it's bitter. We're not used to the bitter flavor. It's the forgotten flavor.
Yes. They want, they're craving, or what mainly in society is the sugar or salt.
And the amazing thing is that bitter is the antidote to sweet. So if we start to putting some bitter in our diet, our cravings for sugar gets diminished. So when it comes to, I see, actually when I came from Europe, I had never actually heard about menopause. And menopause is directly linked to the liver. So my mom, who grew up on bitters all her life, I never heard a peeps out of her about menopause. I never saw her have a hot flash. But she had bitters all her life, So when it comes to a menopausal symptom, premenstrual symptoms, how much energy you have, chronic fatigue, how well you assimilate proteins and fats, it's a huge function of the liver. So if you nourish liver with bitter elements, usually menopausal symptoms will back away, any kind of premenstrual things, poor digestion, skin stuff. Skin is like plan B to liver and digestion.
So Rupam, your bitters is a very old, ancient formula.
Yes, it's the one formula I did not come up with.
And the ingredients are?
It's 11 ingredients, all bitter, either roots or leaves. 4 of those ingredients I actually have to import from my father's pharmacy in Germany. I can't get them there. It's a formula from Europe, so there's no way I can find things here.
What would be those
it's
4
like
that you cannot get?
Manna. It's whitish. It's similar to not in the actual constituents, but it looks like, maple syrup gets taken from the maple tree. Manna gets taken from the manna tree. Or the other one is carline thistle. The other one is theriary. The other one is theriac. And that's a combination of things. And I think the only reason we still have that in Germany is because of that old formula. Because it was part of the 11 different herbs of the Swedish bitters. And any older generation from Europe, if they see the Swedish bitters in my booth, they go, oh, it's the stuff that's good for everything. Mm-hmm. Because we're used to them. We still know, about the importance of bitters. And
it's important to point out that it's a combination of these 11 different symbiotic herbs that are working together.
Yes, exactly.
So each one is in a certain proportion.
Yes.
Where if you would take any one of those singularly, then it's going to have a different effect.
That's very correct, yeah.
But it's very important to know that, for instance, one of the ingredients is senna.
Exactly.
So a lot of people are thinking automatically of diarrhea.
Yeah.
So it's in the right amount.
Yes, and you're never supposed to take senna long term, and you're never supposed to take senna over a long time period and every day, because it's addictive in that way. The body starts to lean on it. When it comes to it being part of the Swedish bitter formula, it's because it's couched with other things that it doesn't have that kind of effect. It's couched with other things that are just more balancing to it. So at this point, I could probably take 3-4 tablespoons, and I wouldn't have diarrhea. If I would do that with senna, it'd be a totally different picture.
But you also recommend to put it in some warm water, hot water.
Yeah, just for
way.
Ease. I find it's more soothing that way. I have few people that do it directly, but that's really strong.
And you start your day with this, and you finish your day.
Yes, to begin with, I would say once a day, just because it helps deliver the detox, just so that detox process becomes gentle. I would say just once a day, maybe 20 minutes before breakfast. It is nice on an empty stomach because it gets the bile going, the digestive juices going. So it prepares the whole body for digestion. And what I know in holistic health, we pretty much say that everything starts from the digestive system. So it's almost, no matter what you suffer from, it's good to start with the digestive system, because as long as the digestive system needs help, it's really hard to help the body to rid itself of toxins.
Is there a moment in time when you start taking the Swedish bitters and there's a detox period?
It can.
It can.
Absolutely.
And what have you seen with certain people?
It varies with people depending on what's out of balance for them. It could be...
Well, let's say the liver. Let's go hypothetical.
Right.
Let's say if a person's liver was imbalanced and stressed and toxic, what detox would be going on? What would that look like, and how long would that go on for?
Again, it depends on the person, but I would say the person is on a fairly good diet. It might be just a couple of days of a symptom. It might be runny stool for a couple of days.
Headaches.
A little bit of a headache. Similar to if you give something up. Let's just say you give up caffeine. Mm-hmm. You might experience a little bit of headache. You might experience runny stool. You might even experience, with the Swedish bitters, you could definitely start to break out a little bit. Those are all cleansing symptoms.
And it's important to note
yes.
that you should stay with that process, because at the end of the tunnel, your eyes will be brighter, your skin will be better, you will be breathing different. Your whole body comes into a balance.
Yeah.
And you will know it. Yeah. You will feel it, how different you'll be.
Yeah, you don't want to stop in the middle, because you might not feel so hot for a little bit,
mm-hmm.
And that's why I tell people, just take 1 teaspoon, gentle. We don't have to rush it,
Slowly introduce it to your body.
And I ask a little bit of what their lifestyle is. If somebody, say, has had a past of drinking or eating a fairly, fast food, that I say, do it for 3 weeks, just 1 teaspoon. Or maybe a month, or maybe 6 weeks, And then add a 2nd teaspoon. In the morning when you take it, it wakes up your whole system. I love taking it at night, because at night, if I'm even just the tiniest bit tired, it puts me out. The digestive system and the liver goes through the entire night. And it's really good to know, because if you happen to wake up every night, anytime between 1 and 3 a.m., that's liver time. That's when the liver works the strongest. So if it's struggling, it tends to wake you up. And so when people come to me and they go, I have sleeping problems, I wake up always at 2 o'clock, I usually will tell them, you know what, take the bitters. Your liver is asking for some help, for some support.
And then there are those that cannot fall asleep. They have an overactive
Right.
mind, and that's relating
Right.
to their nervous system.
Yes.
So you have something for that.
Exactly.
And
That
what herb
be
would
more.
that be?
I would definitely want to, feed the nervous system, which would be like your lemon balm, your skull cap, vervain. Helping your body to actually go under and stay under would be more herbs, passion flower, valerian. If there's a lot of anxiety in the system, it might be California poppy. If you start to take California poppy in high doses, you shouldn't be driving. It can make you a little bit uncoordinated.
Mm-hmm. And that's for those who cannot sleep.
Falling asleep. I would look a little
Their
bit.
mind is very active. They're
Yes.
stressed out. They're
Anxious.
thinking too much.
Right.
They're laying there and they're trying to sleep.
Right.
So you have this formula, and it's a
Yes,
sleep
it's called
formula.
Sweet Dreams Trambui.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the name Trambui. It has
Trambui,
nothing
yes.
to do with Trambui. Yes, that would be a start. And many times people need both.
And what happens if you take that? My experience is that if I take such a product and I'm on it constantly every night, then
Yeah.
it becomes less effective. So my idea is to take it only when I need it
Yeah.
and don't abuse of it.
Yeah.
So during a week, maybe 3 times during that week, and then let the body start to adapt on its own. But if you take it every night for weeks on end, then it becomes less effective.
With nervines, I'm not sure if that's... When you take nervines start to feed and nourish your nervous system. And sometimes people have to take long-term nervines,
So when you say nervines,
meaning any herb that feeds and supports the nervous system, nourishes the nervous system, correct? And so many people drink caffeine, which is a quote-unquote a neurotoxin, means it rattles the nervous system. So for a while, sometimes people have to take nervines long time, especially if they're trying to take off their coffee slowly but surely. So again, depending on lifestyle, it tells you how long you have to take something. I tell always people, depending again of how much caffeine they drink, it's an upwards story. If you drink a lot of caffeine, it will rattle your nervous system. It's very hard to just use nervines to do that. You will have to change habits as well. But nervines can be taken long term, and it will be ongoing nourishing to the nervous system. I don't see it really as getting less and less effective. That's very different than taking a sleeping pill.
this is true.
Yeah.
And then they have to take more
Yeah.
of the
And then it
medication
doesn't work after a
and
while.
more milligrams to
Yeah.
have it to work,
Yeah.
such as Ambient,
Yeah.
the pharmaceutical, to go
Right.
to sleep.
Right. And many times also, my goal to support people also is to find out why they are not sleeping. That's really where I want to go. I don't really want somebody to even take my formula every day, even though it's not habit forming and all of that. But I would like to have them sleep through. That to me is the balance, the healthy picture. So I dig, why. And for me, there is something like what I call sleep hygiene. Many of our habits get the nervous system revved up, like, let's say, watching TV or being on a computer, or it revs you up, the nervous system. Seeing something aggressive or violent on a TV, it has its effect in the nervous system. Foods, definitely,
Or reading.
Yeah.
Reading
or,
great novels, great suspense novels, before you're
Yes.
trying to sleep.
Yeah. I do that from time to time, depending on what the novel is about. But anything that excites your nervous system makes it harder to fall asleep.
It's also important to note that you should have a habit
Yeah.
of sleeping,
Yeah.
and it should be the same time every evening.
Yeah.
So it's not like one night you go to bed at 10 o'clock and then another time at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and then it becomes erratic. So the body really needs to know that it's in this routine. We are creatures of habit.
Right. It helps for sure. Yeah. Or doing something like a warm bath, or listening to calming music, or reading some spiritual text, or any of those things, or writing. I love writing before I go to sleep. Write out anything maybe that was disturbing. It's almost like psychic release. Writing, music, yes,
quiet,
for sure.
beautiful, ambient, repetitive music.
Yeah. Or writing out your gratitude list. I love writing out what I'm grateful for the day. Anything that switches your nervous system in a more of a parasympathetic,
And parasympathetic, meaning that it's, to break it down, is a way of acceptance, of connecting to oneself, and a feeling, a sense of coming home to oneself.
Yes.
Instead of being so disjointed and in the worry of going through the long list of the day and the stress building within you.
So much of us are in fight and flight almost constantly, in such a way that we hardly even know it. Because we're so used to it, So many people are anxious right now, and that's, it's a very intense time on the planet. So we feel each other constantly and always, even if we are not aware of it. So the anxiety level on the planet is pretty high right now.
Yes. I'd like to add to that list. It's fight, flight, or faint.
Yeah. Yes.
And the fainting is equivalent to numbing.
Yes.
A lot of people are in the numbing mode.
Oh, of
and
course.
The people who are in the numbing mode and then they try to go to sleep at night, they're not in balance. They're not in harmony. So there's a disharmony going on. So this is where the herbs can help.
It can. And I also want to mention flower essences, because flower essences, I call them medicine for the mind and the emotions, There might be, we all come in with trauma, with issues, with things that are trying to be healed. So for me, flower essences are a huge medicine, because to me, flower essences are like little light shards that fall into our unconscious or subconscious and light something up that maybe I'm unaware of, maybe that wants to come up and be seen more fully. And flower essences are amazing for that.
So are you referring to Edward Bach?
That's one series of flower essences that I love to use. I come from Europe, so that's close to my heart.
Yes, and for those who don't know about that...
and most people know Rescue Remedy.
Rescue Remedy.
You can buy it in any good health food store.
But for those who know nothing about Edward Bach...
He's an amazing person. He's an amazing doctor. He was extremely sensitive. He could feel in his system of what the vibrancy or the frequency of a particular plant would speak to. He could literally just put that flower in his mouth and he could feel what was going on.
And he related that flower to a certain emotion.
Yes.
And when you give the same flower essence to that emotion, then it neutralizes it, it balances it.
Right. He always said, don't never treat the effect, treat the person. So if there was a lot of fear in the person, he might give the mumulus, which was a fear-oriented flower essence,
Yes, and at the same time, years before Edward Bach, who was in England doing this great work, it was in Germany, and it was the, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the inventors of homeopathy.
Right.
And there was the two...
Hahnemann. India. I mean, it's, I would say...
and that's the essence of using the same in the opposites of what is going on with the illness and the...
In fact, often we treat like with like.
Like with like, yes.
And, and often we use, quote-unquote, a poison to treat a poison inside the body. For instance, I'm not a homeopath, Nux vomica is taken for something that you've ingested that doesn't sit right with you, and vomica, Nux vomica. So it's, you treat like with like.
And it's important to point out that it's the essence of it in homeopathy.
Exactly, it is
where
not
they've
the
diluted
actual
it
herb.
thousands and thousands of times, where it's the essence of what it was.
Yes, it's, for instance, somebody is allergic to, I don't know, peppermint, and they would take the homeopathic dose of peppermint or the flower essence of peppermint. That would not touch or set off an allergic reaction, because it is just the frequency of the plant and not the actual matter.
Well, let's get
So it's fascinating.
Yes, it is absolutely fascinating. Where I think it's be described as energy medicine,
yes.
energetic medicine.
Absolutely.
And that's what we should be returning back to.
Yes.
And it is definitely rearing its head, but yet at the same time it's being very hugely suppressed right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you would ask me, of course I have a deep spiritual background, I'd say above and beyond everything, we are energetic beings having a physical experience and not the other way around. So for me, energetic healing is where it's at this point. I feel like what's called for is to become aware of higher frequencies, make yourself comfortable in that. Things so much is going that direction. Muscle testing, Bowen body work, somatic therapy. It's so much about the energetics of the system. Electromagnetic field is way outside our body, and that's where disease starts.
Well, this makes me think of Nikola Tesla.
Yes.
And for those who don't know who he was, he was all about tapping into that free energy. And he was a great scientist, great inventor, great thinker. And he died in great shame because he was doing things that were such visionary.
Yes.
And there was no money to be made from it.
Exactly. Often it comes back to
yes.
money.
And another would be Royal Raymond Rife.
Right.
The Rife technology of using radio frequency and destroying cancer cells.
Yeah.
So all of this and more is all about the energetic medicine.
Yeah. I mean, color therapy, I'm also a color therapist. Dinsha, spectrochrome, I mean, he was so successful that the medical community crucified him.
And what is this about, color therapy?
It's about, and this is an old ancient Ayurvedic healing modality, is to infuse the body with color. And basically you put a color screen in front of a light source, and it's done naked so it can really go into your skin, and you allow your body to absorb a particular color frequency. And it was amazingly successful.
And each color is for a
As
certain...
many people know, chakras, like the red is the first chakra, which is a lot about surviving. It's a lot of the, hand, feet, arthritis, blood can be helped with the red color. It's very grounding. The next one would be orange, which is more reproductive system. It's your lower intestines. It's also the color of happiness. You can just see when you look at orange, it's a very warm, happy, blissful kind of color, So Ayurveda, the Indian people have treated much with that. And again, it doesn't make money,
Right.
You can teach people to do it at home.
Rupam, let's speak on a personal level. I understand that you were in India many years ago, and you got hepatitis A.
Yes.
So that's on a personal note. How did you treat it? And you came here and asked for help, but what did you find?
It's interesting you bring that up, because that was my start in holistic health, to take it on for myself. Because I came back, actually I went back to India in 1990 to visit for just 6 weeks, and I came back with hepatitis. I had it, it came on 2 weeks after I arrived here back in America. And I went, and I was insured by Kaiser, and I went to Kaiser, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm peeing Coca-Cola and I'm pooping white. And because my husband at the time, he had hepatitis, he knew the symptoms, and he could take care of me because he already had it. We went to the organ specialist, and it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. I asked him what I should be eating, and he said, oh, you can eat anything, and they haven't even proven that alcohol is bad for the liver. And I was like, oh my God, get me out of here, And truly that was my beginning of I started to read up on reflexology, on holistic nutritional therapies, and what I should be careful with, because the liver basically doesn't work at that time. There's certain things you absolutely can't eat.
Such as fried food.
Yeah, and
greasy
heavy
food and
protein,
fats.
oils and fats. The liver is in charge of helping you assimilate that, you know.
Yes. So
And
we've moved very far away from food is your medicine
Yes.
and medicine is your
Yes.
food.
Luckily, he said, well, there's nothing I can give you as in allopathic medicine, which I was happy about, you know. But he also had nothing to give me in terms of how to heal myself. And that's when I started to take on, you know what, I want to learn how to help people to use all those things to heal themselves, you know. And that's when I went back to become a holistic health counselor. That's shortly after I realized I want to go back into medicine making with herbs. That sort of set off everything, you know, because there really wasn't that much help from conventional medicine. And yeah, it's an interesting pathway, you know, how to come back to the West and go, whoa, not so much help, you know.
And it's so beautiful what you're doing and the integrity of what you're doing, that you are actually making and treating your own herbs and making your own products.
Right.
Where a lot of the companies, they farm it out to a secondary company, they buy it from others, so they don't know where these herbs are coming from. They don't know how clean these herbs are, because you do not want the herbicides, fungicides, pesticides.
Yeah, they're all, my products are all organic, because how the herbs are grown is huge in terms of how they are in as a medicine, you know. So I get my herbs only from organic medicinal growers. We have the Sonoma, oh my God, I can't think of the name right now. Sonoma Herb Exchange in Sebastopol.
Yes.
It's a collective of medicinal growers in Sonoma, and you know, they all come together. We put our orders in, and they grow for us. You know,
and what is the process of the herbs when you're making these elixirs?
Oh boy!
You're going to distill it with alcohol, and it's an incredible process.
It's an incredible process. Many in the Bay Area know Karen Sanders of Herbal Highway, KPFA.
Yes.
She was my teacher for 3 years. I love her. She is a master of, I would say, energetic medicine maker. She's Choctaw Indian. She's moved to Manchester now. She has the Blue Otter Herb School. I highly recommend it for anyone who wants to become an herbalist. And she taught me, apart from what I know from my family, she taught me how to use. Every plant, for instance, is connected to a planet. So I work with the moon cycle. Today, for instance, is full moon in Scorpio. Great time to do any kind of nervines, herbs, tincture nervines that are supportive to the nervous system.
And why? Because of the moon in Scorpio?
Because
to settle down, to balance, and to...
because plants have a relationship to particular, let's just say, lemon balm, one of my most beloved nervines, is linked with cancer, the sign Cancer. So I love making that particular nervine moon in Cancer. And I like making it in hormone time, which is 2 a.m. at night. So I make big batches. I don't want to get up too many times at 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. So that is how we also use the energetics in the space, how to make the medicine more potent.
So in essence of what you're saying, that these plants are responding to a certain energy of time and the flow of life and energy around them. So of the planets and the seasons, and there's very important to honor all of that and respect that.
Yes.
So there's a certain time where you don't pick certain plants or don't harvest them at certain times.
Or set them on as in making medicine, yes. Like today is full moon, I wouldn't set on medicine between full moon and new moon. My next time to set medicine on would be new moon.
And that makes me think that perhaps there's certain times of the day to take the product and not to take the product. Is there any truth to
Definitely.
that?
For instance, if you wake up at 2 a.m., that's a great time to take bitters. That's liver time. So your liver is struggling. You're waking up. That's why you're waking up at 2 a.m. A lot of people that go into menopause will wake up in that time frame. A lot of women suddenly tell me, whoa, I'm waking up at 2 o'clock. Yes, because the liver is suddenly going through another readjustment, going into this next phase. So taking bitters at that time often is calming enough to the liver that you go right back to sleep.
So again, the approach is, let's take the Swedish bitters, but let's not rely on them forever. Let's backtrack on that and find out the cause.
Right.
Why are you waking up
Right.
between 1 and 3 o'clock
Right.
in the morning? And then through a questionnaire and getting to know this person,
Right.
and doing blood tests and as such, it's really backtracking and finding out, because it will reveal itself.
Yes.
If you look at it. But if
Yeah.
you're just treating the symptom,
Yeah. And some of the symptoms can be fairly clear. If somebody truly wakes up every time at 2 o'clock, I would say liver is definitely involved. You know, so I would suggest taking bitters for sure.
besides the bitters and the sleep, is there cornerstone foundation herbs that would be the staff of the whole
Boy, that's a hard one.
herbology?
Oh my God. I mean, what comes up to my mind immediately is nettle.
Nettle.
I mean,
yes.
I remember as a child, every time I fell off my bicycle, I seemed to have fallen into nettles. They're just everywhere. And in Europe, we've had the therapy for like arthritis and rheumatism and gout, where we would, sounds horrific, but where we would use fresh nettle and, you know, touch them over the joints, you know, because there was so much uric acid that was broken apart by the nettle sting. That is a part of the medicine of the stinging nettle.
Yeah. The uric acid
Yes.
is where relationship to gout, when you have too much uric
Yes.
acid being produced.
Yes.
And the nettle is,
It's
correct me, it's a very prickly,
It stings.
stinks.
It
yes.
really hurts.
Yeah. And you're doing
Which
this.
I found out when I fell off my bicycle. So
And the reason being that you're doing the nettle over it is
because it actually breaks the uric acid apart, it actually helps even when you get stung. It gets the whole circulation going like crazy,
wonderful.
you know. But also taking it internal, it's so mineral rich. Mineral rich means it's alkalizing. And you know, what you hear everywhere now is alkalizing, 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 because nothing really can grow in a pH balanced environment. It doesn't matter if it's cancer or gum disease or arthritis or anything like that. It's all about alkalizing. Acidic basically means too much inflammation in the system, too many toxins in the system, which are those chronic degenerative diseases are long-term acidic environment, long-term, too much inflammation. So when we talk about cavities or arthritis or rheumatism, it's the same inflammatory picture, meaning, you know, it will hit you where you have a weak spot. Like I had a friend who, you know, I told him, you know, you're gonna have difficulties if you're eating this much sugar. It's so acidifying when you eat it a lot. I don't have cavities, but he had a hip transplant. So it will hit you in your skeletal system somewhere, because when you're too acidic or too inflamed, what the body does in its wisdom is take the minerals from the bone structure to bring it to the organ system, because it can survive with less minerals in the bones, but it needs it for survival in the organ system, which means cavities, bone loss, gum disease, arthritis, rheumatism, all the inflammatory things, you know, gout, acid reflux too, you know, IBS, long-term chronic.
So besides nettle, what other herbs would you
Nettle,
recommend?
you know, one of the daily Rupam tea mix is one of the nicest nourishing tonics you can literally take every day. It's oat straw, red clover, some little bit of spearmint, all the alkalizing herbs. You know,
So when I think of red clover, I think of nourishing the blood, making the blood
Yeah.
stronger, enriching.
And also detoxing. Helps the kidney to actually pee out the acidic waste and the toxins. For instance, the bitters throw the toxins into the bloodstream, but then you also need the kidney to make sure that the toxins leave your system through the waterways. So nettle to me is such an amazing herb, because it supports kidney, it makes you alkaline, it helps you do detox. You know, it's the second piece to the bitters.
So if you were to mention at least 3 important herbs, we have nettle and Swedish bitters, of course, a combination of 11 different herbs. What else would there be?
I'd
If
say
you could only take 3 to this
right,
far distant island,
right.
what would you
Definitely
take with
be
you?
nettle.
Yes.
Of course, the Swedish bitters is 11 different herbs. If I could take that, I'd cheat and go Swedish bitters. And then a nervine. And I'd say the intensity of anxiety on the planet, I would want a really deep nervine. So I'd go for skullcap. And that's just it works slow, but it's deep. So it's, and again, you can take it long term.
I've had great results with holy basil
Oh, of
from
course.
New Chapter.
It's hard to
Yes.
to look only at 3. Holy
Yes.
basil. I mean, holy basil is fantastic. It's an adaptogen. It builds stamina. It lightens up the load, also emotionally speaking.
Absolutely. They use it for great states of meditation
Yes.
in India.
Yes. It's also kidney support. It's a really beautiful nervine. It works on cold symptoms. God. It's one of those do-it-all herbs. And I love drinking it as a tea.
Yes, it's important to point out, though, it's a combination of tea, elixirs, and food. So
Yeah.
these can be taken in, these herbs can be added into your salads and worked into your
lemon balm, fantastic. You cut up fresh lemon balm. It's a very lemony taste. It's fantastic in a salad.
And you can put it in your cuisine where you make many dishes. So these
Absolutely.
herbs are to be recognized as
Yeah.
food, but
Yeah.
they're also very medicinal.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of moving back
Yeah.
to the basics.
I would say food is your first medicine. In fact, you know, what I teach in dentistry or what I teach in holistic dentistry of how to take care of yourself, it's if you can take sugar out, it's huge and hard to do.
And replace the sugar. Instead of white refined sugar, if you, for the sweetener, you can have molasses, which would be very healthy for
Molasses
you.
would
You get
be-
your B vitamins from there.
Yes.
Honey,
Honey is tricky.
but good honey.
Yeah, it has to be raw honey and just little.
Absolutely.
Just
And
tiny
respect
bit.
it, just
Yeah.
amounts of it.
Yes. My favorite is stevia, and I know some people don't like it, but it's guilt-free. It doesn't rev my blood sugar levels, especially the water extract, the brown liquid, which is hard to get in a store. You have to usually go online. It's not very highly processed. It's truly the leaf and then a water extraction.
And what is stevia? For those who
Stevia
don't
is a
know about
plant.
it?
Stevia is actually a plant. You can take a leaf of the plant, and if you suck on it, it's intensely sweet. So you can easily put it as a plant into tea.
So as you just pointed out, if it's over refined and over processed, you don't want that.
Yeah.
You want the stevia to be organic in its natural state.
Yeah, you want it as a water extract, as little processed as possible, you know. And I mean, usually most people that I talk to, if I ask them, give me an average breakfast, lunch, and dinner, many people do too much sugar. And there has to be an understanding that even fruit, even honey, even maple syrup, even the good sugars, if you take too many units per day, it throws your mineral balance, which gets us right back to cavities, to bone disease, to arthritis. Because if it throws the endocrine system, which is in charge of the mineral absorption and mineral distribution, it doesn't matter what sugar, you can only take so much, you know. Like for instance, 2 pieces of fruit is a safe amount. Somebody that eats tons of dried fruit, it again is a imbalance in the system.
And it's important to point out the 3 of the vinegar, salt, and sugar.
Yeah.
So these all have to be respected. And
Yeah.
if it's going to be vinegar, it should be apple cider vinegar,
Yes.
not the
Yes.
white,
Yes.
refined,
A lot of
typical
vinegars,
vinegar that everybody knows.
yeah, and a lot of vinegars are contaminated with lead and whatnot, you know. So yeah, apple cider vinegar or lemon juice in terms of salad dressing. And there's one thing that I want to mention. Lemon juice and water is a fantastic thing, like first thing in the morning.
Should the water be warm or cool?
Warm is nice.
Warm is better.
Warm is really nice. And immediately rinse your water out with normal water, because when you swallow the lemon water, it's alkalizing in your system, but in your mouth, it's acidic.
Well, how about warm water, lemon, and Swedish bitters combination?
That's a lot.
Is it?
I would probably alternate. I alternate lemon water in the morning and bitters at night.
Ah.
Or I do lemon water first thing and then the bitters 20 minutes for breakfast. It's a lot of information if you put a lot of things together. It's better to take things a little, even if it's just 10 minutes separate.
Less is more.
Yeah, less is more.
And respecting of the energy and the energeticness of it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What do you eat? Do you eat red meat? Are you basically organic? Are you not? And this is a huge topic right now.
Oh, definitely. I pretty much eat all organic. I mean, I'm part of the farmers market. It's easy for me. I do a lot of bartering, you know. But
what would be a typical meal for the day for you?
I'm a salad freak.
Yes?
I love big salads. I'm a blood type O. So I pretty much respect that. For instance, I'm very sensitive to gluten.
Well, blood type O, they're supposed to be the meat eater.
I know.
So they say.
And I have a spiritual background. I was many years vegetarian. I have a bit of a spiritual handicap with that. I do eat fish. I eat maybe once or twice a year red meat, depending when I really crave it. I follow that. I usually don't. I do eat chlorella. Which is a really hefty plant protein. It's so good for other things.
So no poultry? No.
I do some organic turkey. I do some organic chicken. I prefer turkey usually. I prefer fish over that.
And you have to be careful with the fish because of the mercury now.
Yes, I do mostly sardines.
Sardines, wonderful.
Yeah, small.
Highly recommended by Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
The sardines.
And I do small amounts. My salads are really nice, hefty size with maybe 4 ounces of protein. I do eggs. I know where my eggs come from. Get it from a really clean source. I can't do dairy right now. I've done dairy too much in my life. I'm from Germany. Everything was cheese and butter and everything. So
you do not eat cheese now?
Right now, if I would eat cheese, I would do only raw.
So that would be goat cheese,
goat cheese raw. I'm also close, again, farmers market. I'm next to organic pastures. They're all raw milk products and organic. That's what I would eat if I can.
So when the conventional people think of salad, they're going to think of the watercress salad.
Oh, yeah.
Iceberg lettuce, let's say, and maybe a shred of carrot in there.
Right.
But when we're talking about a salad here, we're talking about...
I'm talking tomatoes and cucumbers and
zucchini,
fennel and anything.
Be very creative. And the main thing is to make it a rainbow of color.
Absolutely.
And the more rainbow of color, the more nutritious it is.
And I eat with the seasons. I eat what I can get from the farmer's market. So it will vary of what's in season. You know, right now asparagus is out. I love asparagus. Great for kidney. So I have a lot of asparagus. I have, right now, I have fennel. I have dandelion greens. I truly love, I have loved salads. So that's pretty much my main meal, you know. I'm careful with grains. I have quinoa in the morning, soaked and fermented. Quinoa, it's from Peru. It's the highest protein grain. It really is a seed. It's not really a grain. And I do wild rice. Again, I soak fermented overnight. The indigenous people seem to have all cooked that way. Western price, that's back to holistic dentistry.
And how about juicing?
Do you
have a juicer?
I have a Vitamix, so I'd rather get the entire thing with fiber and everything. I'm not really a juicer. I found for me, I'm sensitive to blood sugar levels. Juicing for me it's better for me to do it as a smoothie, like do the entire thing, the entire kale, the entire dandelion, and drink it more as a smoothie.
And what's your favorite that you would put in the Cuisinart? You would put kale
I would make my own almond milk. I soak almonds overnight. I put that in the Vitamix. I put in, put chia seed in my coffee grinder, grind it up a little bit. I would throw that in there. I would bring like maybe some kale, maybe half a banana, greens that I have, maybe an apple, ginger. I love ginger, even raw ginger cut up real small in a salad. I kind of go with my gut feeling on that. I try to use a lot of different things, not always the same.
Well, Rupam, we just have a few moments left.
Yes.
The time has gone by very, very quickly, and we have so much more to speak about, and I'd very much like to invite you back again,
Okay.
and we'll go into it in more depth.
Yeah.
But what is really very dear to you, and what are you very passionate about at this moment in time? If I could direct that to that there's a lot of people that are imbalanced and they're eating a lot of processed foods right now and fast food.
Yeah.
They're no longer cooking at home. And they know that they're imbalanced. Their physical body is overweight, and their emotions and their thoughts and their energy and their stress. So that's a combination of begging for disease.
Yeah.
So let's address that.
Boy, I mean, God, what am I passionate about so much? And what comes up for me right now is, how many people know that, yes, that's unhealthy? And how many people have difficulties leaving it be and eating healthy? I mean, from my own experience, it brings us right to addictive tendencies of using things as a drug to calm and soothe ourselves. So what I'm passionate about is the amount of helplessness that people feel on going to a healthier path, and yet are in difficulty of letting go of tendencies that are difficult, And for me, it comes all back how to work with your mind and have a spiritual practice and have support of a team, if it's 12-step, if it's A Course in Miracles, to me, the spiritual path is the underlying remedy for most things, definitely for me, And with my own issue with what I would call tendency to use food as a drug, I know telling somebody, stop sugar, is a really, really simple advice, but super hard to follow through. So for me to get warm and comfortable with a spiritual practice and get support with that, is really my passion. To work people with addictive tendencies. Everybody has an addictive tendency. Everybody, It could be cigarettes, it could be smoking, it could be food, it could be overworking, it could be shopping. There are so many ways we reach out this way versus coming back inside.
And all of those addictions are about
they're innocent.
Yes.
They're innocent. They're basically
undigested energy that is not.
And not knowing, we haven't been taught how to nourish inside and how to fill those empty places. We haven't, or how to be with discomfort. How to be with discomfort and be warmly okay with it. So I love the Course in Miracles. I love spiritual teachers that address that. How to be with that, and it's my. So much comes with it, in terms of what we take on from our upbringing, negative self-talk, shame, guilt. We try to soothe all of that, and many times it's an oral thing, and that can play havoc in your system. And so my passion really is supporting people on that journey of how to take that back inside and help yourself and love yourself in the process. How to learn to love yourself through your difficulty. And it's a life path.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Oh, Rupam, it's been a great delight to speak with you, and we have so much more to speak about. And our next time we get together, I'd like to speak about holistic dentistry. And there's so much more to talk about in that area.
Yeah.
And thank you. Thank you. And
You're
I
so
honor
welcome.
everything that you do, and thank you very, very much.
Same here. Thank you for doing this.
And from the art of conscious living, please do take care of yourself and take care of others.